He's 48 years old. He was in an interview on CNBC Sport, and he acknowledged that he spoke to the league about returning to the field.
Tom Brady just told the NFL he wants back in. At 48 years old, with 7 rings and a piece of the Raiders, he made the call. The league said no. But when fans linked Brady to the Chiefs, Mahomes had something to say, and his reaction changed everything. The GOAT asked permission. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. He played 23 seasons. He threw for 89,214 yards and 649 touchdowns across 335 games. He won 251 regular season games and 35 more in the playoffs. He started for 2 franchises and won championships with both. And in March 2026, at 48 years old, the most decorated quarterback in the history of professional football picked up the phone and asked the National Football League if he could come back. Brady told CNBC he actually inquired with the NFL about the possibility of returning to the field while keeping his minority ownership stake in the Las Vegas Raiders. The league's answer was swift, direct, and left no room for interpretation. They did not like that idea very much. Brady owns a 5% stake in the Raiders, purchased in 2024 alongside investors like Tom Wagner and former Patriots teammate Richard Seymour. And under a 2023 league policy designed to protect competitive integrity, active players cannot hold equity in any NFL franchise. Period. No exceptions. No workarounds. Not even for the greatest quarterback to ever step under center. The timing of this revelation was no accident. Just 3 days before the CNBC interview dropped on March 26, 2026, Brady had suited up for the Fanatics Flag Football Classic on March 23rd. Non-contact, 7-on-7, short field, no pass rush screaming off the edge, no linebackers reading his eyes in the middle of the field, no 270-pound defensive ends bending the corner and collapsing the pocket, and Brady looked like he had never left the game. Multiple touchdowns, tight spirals cutting through the air, with the same velocity fans remembered from Foxborough and Tampa. Accuracy that made people who watched forget the man was nearly 49 years old. His team lost to Team USA, but nobody cared about the final score. The internet cared about the arm, and the arm looked dangerous. That flag football game was the spark. But the fire had been smoldering for months, ever since December 2025, when Patrick Mahomes went down with a torn ACL and LCL that ended his season. The Kansas City Chiefs, winners of 3 Super Bowls in 5 years and the most dominant dynasty in modern football, suddenly had no quarterback. Their empire was on life support. They finished the season 6-11 without Mahomes, their first real dip in the dynasty era and their first significant playoff absence in years. And in the wreckage of that lost season, fans started dreaming dangerous dreams. What if Brady came back? What if he came back specifically for the Chiefs? What if the GOAT strapped on a helmet one more time and kept the Kansas City dynasty alive while Mahomes healed his knee? It was fan fiction. It was memes flooding X and Instagram. It was hypothetical debates on podcasts and group chats and barstool arguments across the country. But the fantasy had just enough logic baked into it to make reasonable people pause and consider the possibility. Andy Reid's offense was designed for a smart quarterback who could read coverages and deliver the ball quickly. Travis Kelce was still on the roster. The supporting cast was built to win immediately. And a 48-year-old quarterback had just shown the entire world that his arm still worked at a level most active starters could not match. Brady shut it down himself with characteristic directness. He said the flag football game reconfirmed to me that I'm very happy in my retirement. He said he loved throwing passes to elite athletes without the punishment of getting hit on every other play. He said he explored different things with the league and asked the necessary questions. And then he said the words that were supposed to end the conversation permanently. I'm very happily retired. Let me just say that too. But this is Tom Brady, the man who retired once before, after the 2022 season, and came back just 40 days later for one more year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has made retirement look like a suggestion rather than a commitment, a pause rather than a period. And when the ESPN post about his inquiry hit X on March 26th, it racked up 1.73 million views, 6,300 likes, and hundreds of replies within hours. Fans flooded the comments with a mixture of awe and amusement. Brady at 48 still scaring the league more than most QBs at 28. Others joked that he tried to unretire, like it's a casual side quest, and the league said not today. The tone was light and playful. The GOAT worship was heavy and sincere, and buried under all the jokes and memes was a real question that nobody could fully answer with confidence. Does Tom Brady actually want to play football again? And is anything truly stopping him besides paperwork? The NFL had a recent precedent to reference. Philip Rivers, 44 years old in 2025, had unretired after more than 4 years away from the game to start 3 games for the Indianapolis Colts. Rivers had no ownership ties to complicate the situation, no equity conflicts to untangle. His return was clean and simple from a league rules perspective. Brady's was the opposite. The league confirmed that any return would require Brady to fully divest his Raiders ownership stake, and there would be significant salary cap complications for any scenario involving a player who simultaneously held ownership in a franchise. Brady's advisory role with the Raiders, high-level input on personnel decisions and coaching philosophy, conducted primarily by phone with no daily operational duties, would have to end entirely and immediately. So the math was simple and unforgiving. To play again, Brady would have to sell his piece of the Raiders, walk away from the ownership group he joined with the stated mission of bringing a winning culture back to Las Vegas, give up the business side of football for the physical side, trade boardrooms and investor calls for locker rooms and training camps, trade phone calls with general managers for two-a-days in the August heat, and he would have to do all of this at 49 years old, in a league that delivers punishment no flag football game can simulate, against defenders who are half his age and grew up watching his Super Bowl highlights on YouTube before they were old enough to drive. The league said no. Brady said he was happy, and the story should have ended right there. But it did not end, because the moment Tom Brady confirmed he had even thought about coming back, even for a second, even as an exploratory question posed to league officials, every football fan in America started running scenarios in their head. And the scenario that kept surfacing, the one that spread the fastest and rang the loudest across every corner of social media, was Brady in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform. Why Kansas City made sense to everyone but the NFL. The Chiefs without Mahomes were a different football team, not just worse on the scoreboard, fundamentally different in identity. The magic that had defined Kansas City for the better part of a decade disappeared the moment Mahomes left the field on a stretcher. The offense that had been the most creative, most explosive, most impossible to prepare for unit in professional football turned ordinary overnight. And ordinary does not win football games in January. Ordinary does not win Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes had torn his ACL and LCL during the 2025 season. The injury ended his campaign and sent shockwaves rippling through the entire league. Kansas City went 6-11 down the stretch without their franchise quarterback, their dynasty suddenly and painfully exposed as being built on the shoulders of one man. Coach Andy Reid, the architect of everything good that had happened in Kansas City for the past decade, was left trying to run an offense designed for a generational talent with replacement-level arms operating behind center. The weapons were still on the roster, the playbook was still loaded with creativity and misdirection, the coaching staff was still among the best in football, the quarterback was not there to make any of it work. And that vacuum is precisely where the Brady to Chiefs fantasy took root and grew into something that felt almost plausible. Fans on X had floated the idea as early as December 2025, during the darkest stretch of the Chiefs' lost season. The logic was seductive enough to survive scrutiny for at least a few minutes before reality set in. Brady had won a Super Bowl the last time he changed teams, going to Tampa Bay in 2020, and winning it all in his very first season with a new franchise. Andy Reid's offensive system, with its creative route concepts, emphasis on short to intermediate timing passes, and reliance on a quarterback who could diagnose defenses before the snap, was tailor-made for the way Brady played the position, and Brady had always spoken about Reid and the entire Chiefs organization with deep and genuine admiration.
I think he would be better. And I'm saying he's already great. I mean, believe me, he's, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL.
Brady said those words about Mahomes in a broadcast setting, but the respect ran in both directions and extended well beyond just the quarterback position. Brady had praised the Chiefs' preparation methods, their organizational culture, their ability to build the kind of continuity and belief that separates dynasties from teams that win once and fade away.
Of our organization on the standard that was set, a lot like what's happening with Kansas City now.
That comparison, Brady directly likening the Chiefs to the Patriots dynasty he built alongside Bill Belichick over 2 decades, was not casual praise offered in the moment. It was the highest compliment he could pay to any football organization on the planet, and it made the fantasy feel less like fantasy and more like destiny written in invisible ink. If Brady was going to come back for one team, for one final run, for one last chapter in a story that already had more chapters than anyone thought possible, why not the team he had compared to his own legacy? But Destiny does not override NFL bylaws, and sentiment does not trump salary cap regulations. Brady is a 5% owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs are in the AFC West, the same division as the Raiders. They play each other twice every single season. The conflict of interest would be entirely unprecedented in modern professional sports, an owner-player actively competing against his own franchise in divisional rivalry games with playoff implications. The league did not need to form a committee or conduct a lengthy review to figure out why that arrangement was a catastrophic problem. Every snap Brady took against the Raiders would invite questions about competitive integrity. Every audible he called at the line of scrimmage, every pre-snap read he made based on years of studying defensive tendencies, every single piece of proprietary organizational film and strategy he might have absorbed during his time as an owner and advisor could theoretically give him an unfair advantage as an opposing quarterback. It was a competitive integrity crisis wrapped inside a salary cap nightmare, and the league wanted no part of it, and Brady understood the situation completely. He had explored every angle. He had asked every relevant question, and the league had given him the only answer its rules allowed: divest your ownership stake entirely, or stay retired and enjoy broadcasting and business. The physical reality of a comeback was equally complicated when examined honestly. Brady's last NFL season in 2022 produced 4,694 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions at age 45, numbers that would be respectable for a quarterback in his prime, let alone one playing in his mid-40s. But that was 4 years ago. The Flag Football Showcase in March 2026 proved conclusively that his arm still functioned at a high level. But flag football does not feature a 270-pound defensive end closing the pocket in under 3 seconds. It does not have a safety disguising his coverage until the ball is snapped. It does not deliver the accumulated physical violence of a 17-game regular season followed by 4 rounds of playoff football.
That's where my magic superpower was. It wasn't how fast I could run. It was how fast I could diagnose what they were doing.
Brady had always understood with perfect clarity that his competitive edge was mental rather than physical. He had been open and detailed about this for years, explaining in interviews and broadcasts exactly how he processed defensive looks faster than any quarterback who had ever played the position.
I was Starlink before Starlink. You know, now other guys, if it's a slow processing speed, well, he's going to get you.
That processing speed, the ability to diagnose a blitz, identify the open receiver, and deliver the ball before the pressure arrives, does not come with an expiration date at age 49. Film study does not have an age limit. Football intelligence does not deteriorate the way a 40-year-old knee does, but the body that has to execute what the brain has already solved, that body absolutely has limits. George Blanda played until he was 48, and he spent his final years primarily as a kicker rather than a quarterback taking hits. No quarterback in NFL history has taken meaningful snaps at 49. Brady would not merely be breaking an existing record, he would be inventing an entirely new category of athletic achievement. Meanwhile, the man whose roster spot he would theoretically be occupying was already well on his way back to the field. Patrick Mahomes was rehabbing his torn knee aggressively and had already resumed throwing by early 2026. Coach Andy Reid told reporters he would never bet against Mahomes returning for week 1 of the upcoming season. Owner Clark Hunt referenced Brady's own successful 2009 comeback from a torn ACL as the template and inspiration for Mahomes' recovery timeline. The Chiefs were not searching for a replacement quarterback. They were counting down the days until their franchise quarterback was healthy. And Mahomes, at 30 years old with 3 Super Bowl championships, 3 Super Bowl MVP awards, and 2 league MVP trophies already on his mantle, was not a man any organization replaces, not with a free agent, not with a first-round draft pick, and certainly not with a 49-year-old part owner of a divisional rival franchise who had been retired for nearly 4 years. The Brady to Chiefs story was never real. No teams were contacted by Brady or his representatives. No negotiations occurred behind closed doors. No formal application was submitted to any league office. But the story captured something genuinely real and undeniable about how the world perceives Tom Brady as a man who bends the rules of reality itself, who defies every reasonable timeline, who accomplishes things that are flatly not supposed to be possible, and then makes them look routine in hindsight. 7 Super Bowls were not supposed to be possible for one player. Playing quarterback at an elite level at age 45 was not supposed to be possible. And somehow, even asking the league about coming back at 48 felt less like delusion from an aging athlete clinging to glory, and more like Tom Brady simply being Tom Brady. The torch, the record, and the only thing that matters. The relationship between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes is not a rivalry anymore. not in any traditional sense of the word. It has evolved into something closer to a succession, the older king standing at the edge of his empire, watching a younger one lay the foundation for a kingdom of his own, offering counsel and perspective from a respectful distance and quietly measuring every brick against the fortress he already built. The relationship began in earnest after the 2018 AFC Championship game. The Patriots defeated the Chiefs in overtime in one of the greatest playoff games in NFL history. Brady was 41. Mahomes was 23, and after the final whistle, instead of staying in his own locker room to celebrate the victory and prepare for the Super Bowl, Brady walked across the stadium and into the Kansas City locker room to find the young quarterback he had just beaten.
And when I first met Patrick in person, it was the 18 championship game. We ended up beating the Chiefs.
Yep.
And I went to the locker, and I went to his locker room because I had not had a chance to say hi to him.
Brady sought him out, not to offer hollow condolences, not to play the gracious veteran for the cameras, to recognize what he had watched all season long. A young quarterback who played the position with the same combination of competitive fire and selfless leadership that Brady believed separated the truly great from the merely talented.
I watched you all year, and I just want to tell you, keep doing what you're doing. You're a great leader.
That moment meant something to Mahomes. He has referenced it publicly on multiple occasions as some of the most impactful professional advice he has ever received, and Brady has been clear that his words in that Kansas City locker room had nothing to do with Mahomes' physical talent, not the sidearm throws that defied physics, not the no-look passes that broke the internet, not the left-handed flicks across the body that looked like something from a playground rather than a championship game.
And it wasn't because he was this incredible thrower and sidearm and, blindfolded passes and left-handed throws.
Brady had seen every type of arm talent the league could produce over 23 years. Cannon arms, sidearm wizards, guys who could throw from any platform at any angle. None of that impressed him anymore. What caught his attention about Mahomes was something film study alone could never measure.
It's the intangibles that he has, his ability to relate to his teammates, the humility he has in success, giving credit to the other players.
That was always Brady's true measure of quarterback greatness. Not the arm strength or the scrambling ability or the highlight reel plays, the leadership, the humility in victory, the ability to make every single person around you perform at a higher level because they believe in you as a human being, not just as the most talented player on the field. And when Brady studied Mahomes across multiple seasons and multiple encounters, he saw those exact same qualities reflected back at him.
There's nothing that Patrick can do, in my opinion, that takes away from what I tried to accomplish in my career, and there's nothing that I did can take away from what he's trying to accomplish.
That is not rivalry. That is the deepest form of professional respect two competitors can share. And it is the framework through which Brady views the entire GOAT debate that sports media and fans obsess over on a daily basis. Brady does not see Mahomes as a threat to his legacy. He sees Mahomes as a continuation of everything he spent 23 years building. The numbers as of the end of the 2025 season tell a story that is clear in its current chapter, but unfinished in its conclusion. Brady's completed career stands at 89,214 passing yards, 649 touchdowns, 251 regular season wins, 35 playoff victories, 7 Super Bowl titles, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, and 3 league MVP awards across 23 seasons of professional football. Mahomes, through approximately 8.5 seasons, has accumulated roughly 35,000 passing yards, 267 touchdowns, around 90 regular season wins, 17 playoff victories, 3 Super Bowl titles, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 league MVP awards. Brady commands every volume category by a margin that seems almost unfair when you see the numbers side by side. Mahomes counters with superior efficiency metrics, higher completion percentage, better yards per attempt, stronger overall passer rating, earned in a more pass-friendly era with better quarterback protection rules, and an analytics-driven league that has tilted the playing field in favor of the passing game more aggressively than any previous generation of football. Brady knows all of this. He has acknowledged the era differences openly and without defensiveness. And he has stated clearly that if anyone manages to match or surpass his championship count, he will be the first person to offer genuine congratulations.
And believe me, if anybody can go out there and win 7 Super Bowls, I have so much respect for them. I understand how difficult it is. I will congratulate them, and I'm going to, give whatever it is a big hug. I texted
7 Super Bowls. That is the number that defines the standard. That is the mountain every future quarterback must climb. Mahomes has 3 rings, and he is 30 years old. Brady did not win his fourth championship until he was 37. The trajectory is absolutely there if health cooperates, and the roster around Mahomes remains competitive. But Brady also understands something from lived experience that Mahomes is still learning through the pain of his 2025 injury. The distance between 3 Super Bowls and 7 is not simply 4 more rings. It is an entire decade of sustained excellence navigated through injuries that threaten to end careers, roster turnover that strips away trusted teammates, coaching changes that disrupt chemistry, salary cap pressure that forces impossible choices, and the relentless cumulative physical toll of playing the most violent team sport on earth at its highest level. Brady articulated this reality perfectly on Colin Cowherd's show when he talked about how the experience of winning championships transformed over the course of his career. Early on, Super Bowls felt almost routine. Win in 2001, win in 2003, win in 2004. What is the big deal? Then came the devastating 10-year drought between his third and fourth titles, the losses to the New York Giants that haunted him, the heartbreak in games that slipped away, the pain of watching other teams celebrate on fields where he had once held the trophy.
We went 10 years between winning. And then I said, you know what? These Super Bowl moments that I get a chance to partake in.
That decade without a championship rewired Brady's entire approach to the biggest games. He stopped assuming titles would come and started treating every Super Bowl week like it could be his last. That hard-earned lesson that Super Bowls are never guaranteed, that championship windows slam shut without warning, that losses in the biggest game follow you for the rest of your life, is the exact lesson Mahomes is absorbing right now in real time. After a torn ACL in 2025, after watching helplessly as his team crumbled to 6-11 without him, after learning firsthand that even the most dominant dynasties in professional sports are fragile constructions held together by the health and commitment of a handful of irreplaceable individuals. And this is precisely why Brady's March 2026 inquiry mattered, even though it led absolutely nowhere. It was never about the Chiefs. It was never about replacing Mahomes or stealing his roster or hijacking his dynasty. It was about a 48-year-old man who won everything there is to win in professional football, confirming what every true competitor already knows deep in their bones: the desire to compete never fully dies. The fire that made Brady wake up before dawn to study game film for 23 consecutive years does not get extinguished by a retirement press conference or a lucrative broadcasting contract or a minority ownership stake in a franchise. That fire burns until the body physically cannot carry it anymore. And even then, it smolders. Brady acknowledged this truth in the most Brady way imaginable. He picked up the phone, called the league office, and asked for permission to come back. The league reviewed the rules and said no, and Brady said, "Okay, I am very happily retired. Let me just say that too." But the fact that he asked, the fact that at 48 years old, with 7 rings on his fingers and every meaningful record in the history books next to his name, he still felt the gravitational pull of the game strong enough to make that call, tells you everything you need to know about who Tom Brady is and why Patrick Mahomes will spend the rest of his career chasing the shadow of the man who walked into his locker room after a loss and told him to keep going. Mahomes is on track for week 1 of the 2026 NFL season. His knee is healing on schedule. He is throwing again with increasing confidence and velocity. Andy Reid is building the roster specifically around his return. The Chiefs are preparing to run it back with their franchise quarterback healthy and motivated by the taste of a season lost. And somewhere in Las Vegas, in an owner's suite with a view of the desert, Tom Brady is watching football from a distance, studying film out of habit because he does not know how to stop, throwing passes in flag football games because the arm demands to be used, and reminding the entire world that the greatest quarterback who ever lived still has every tool necessary to compete at the highest level of professional football. He just cannot find a league willing to let him use them. The torch has been passed, but the man who passed it keeps reaching back for it with both hands, and that stubborn, relentless, almost irrational refusal to let go of the game, more than any stat, more than any ring, more than any record that will ever be set or broken, is what makes Tom Brady the GOAT. Well, that's it for this video, but don't go anywhere because we've got plenty more heat for you. Just tap any of the cards on your screen right now and keep it locked.